I am Feel It.
And I am Fix It. And we talk about life.
And stuff and things.
With the occasional rant.
Which you will have no problem doing.
Hello. Good
Hello.
evening. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good night. Whatever it is, wherever you are, hope you're having a good one.
Mr. Dry Contact. Sorry.
Hi there.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing.
Okay, I'm glad to know it's not just me that's feeling a little weird today.
Absolutely. On this strange, dreary Saturday that seems to have flown by.
And at the same time, we didn't actually do anything. It's just like,
No.
day's gone.
Certainly didn't do
Day's
any of the
gone.
things I needed to do. No. That's okay, I guess.
We dropped off some stuff. And
At the thrift store.
Yep.
Yep.
And then got a car wash and gas and food.
And then that escalated.
And it just, and phew, yeah.
Because when your car wash is across the street from Cracker Barrel, then,
Yeah.
why not?
And chicken fried
Not
steak.
a sponsor.
Not a sponsor, but we'll take it. But, chicken fried steak, it's good stuff.
Yes.
It's good stuff.
And then you get sucked in by the store while you're waiting for you to go.
Yeah, and that's the idea. They want you in there.
You had your chicken fried steak. I did not. I ate a bite of your chicken fried steak.
Yes. And some fried apples. Some really good green beans. It's good stuff.
It was good for you.
It's good stuff.
I'm
I
glad.
enjoy it.
Very rarely have
I
that.
am very, it's like, I'm a pretty simple guy.
Mm-hmm. You are.
I don't need, I like complex and complicated and foodie, but you know what? I can be happy with something simple, just well done.
And then I haven't had to cook, so there's that.
Also true. Didn't need to cook. That was cool.
Fine with that.
Yep. I'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
But, here we
The
are.
day has flown by. Very dreary day.
It has.
Just is.
Feeling really kind of,
Yeah, winter blah.
Yeah, no,
Or just blah.
not even blah, just halfway to loopy, and I'm not sure why. The chicken fried steak was good,
Loopy?
but it wasn't that good.
Yeah, I can't say I've noticed loopy. I don't
It's
know.
I'm feeling, not acting. Come on.
You seem pretty chill.
Yeah, I'm good.
Not even antsy or anything.
Nope.
Not talking a mile a minute.
Nope.
Okay.
Keep it simple.
All right. Works for you.
Yeah, but I haven't done anything, and I still feel like I need a nap.
Respect that.
Just,
I respect that.
one of those days.
Mhm.
One of those days.
That's okay.
We have them. We all have them. I think.
Of all the things I could have, should have, would have done.
Nap.
It started this morning. Okay, last night we have dragged out watching Suits with our youngest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I primarily. I know you watch it when you wake up in the evenings and we're watching it, but these mini binges on and off for months. We'd watched the first several seasons and then didn't for a long time. And then out of nowhere, she's like, let's finish that. I said, okay. So it's half of it that we've been doing for the last few months. And we were down to 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But it was late. And then she knew she needed to chill out and sleep.
Yep.
But then she could get up early enough that we could finish it before she had to go to work.
Yep.
So then how did I start my day? Sitting on my butt watching TV. And that just took it down. Just took it down from there. And then I was all like, oh, I want to see if the first one mirrors, or the last one mirrors the first one. So then what happened? Turn on the first one.
I started watching it over again.
And it's been so long since I've even started it that it's like I'm watching it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So anywho.
Yeah.
wrong start to the day if I thought I was going to be even semi-productive.
Yeah. I just saw the meme version of stuff from
You've
that
seen
show.
a lot of memes.
So, yeah.
I know. A lot of the Harvey Specter jokes make sense to me now. But
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. What can I say? As
So
I
it was
told
a
my
pretty entertaining
girls,
character. They did it. They wrote it pretty well.
I'm behind on things. Okay, I just am because I was a little busy going to school and taking care of kids. Sorry,
Sure.
didn't exactly make time to watch particular shows. But I'm enjoying it now. I'm enjoying the binge now. And we kind of have a thing where if it's got to be like bingeable. We don't typically watch an episode at a time. We wait, make sure it's out a season or two,
Yeah.
come back around to it.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of TV when it's happening. It's like, oh, the season dropped. Okay, well, I'll sit down and I'll watch a couple and see if it's worth the rest of the trouble. But, growing up, new show, you watch the show, and a week later you get another episode.
Right.
Like,
And now you
forget
got Roku
that.
with
Who's
these
got that kind of time?
Family Ties channel. I mean, really, just over and over and over again, 24/7. Like, wow.
It kind of seems like a bit much, but
Kind of love that, actually. It's just it's the era that we're in now,
yeah,
and our grandchildren will have it so much more differently.
it will be different. Yeah, it's
Our kids had it differently.
yes, yeah. They had a pile of DVDs and VHS tapes. So
We had a satellite dish. That was kind of
We ended up with that
thing,
too, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like when you're in the middle of nowhere-ish.
and they were the dedicated channels. Cartoon Network was a big one. That's since gotten weirder, but what are you gonna do? Time moves on. Yeah.
Yeah. Our kids do know what those are.
Yes.
We have some in the basement, don't we?
What?
The VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got a VCR hooked up downstairs. Not that they've ever used it, but it's there. We got a DVD player in our bedroom. We got a DVD player in the living room. And most of the time, if it's getting used, it's because I'm putting on an old movie so I can listen to it as I go to sleep.
You make fun of me when I want to stream things and I'm too lazy to pull out the DVD.
Yeah, that's right next to the TV.
Listen.
Yeah. It's right
Well,
there.
you just push buttons on the remote, okay?
This is true, and as long as it's available. The thing is, a lot of the stuff that I like to watch isn't. It's like, I'm not saying they're not, you can't stream them, but no place has them included in the packages. And I'm sorry, the amount of money we pay for streaming services is more than what we paid for cable.
Well, to be fair, our
And-
children pay for some of those services
They do.
because they want to have them,
yeah.
those platforms.
Yep. And when you turn around and go, well, I have the DVD right there. I can just plug. I don't got to go searching through 20 different streaming sites. It's right there. I just slide the disc in and hit go. And there's no commercials and there's no edits. It's nice.
I get it.
It's not as convenient, but it is a superior format in most respects.
And we've had high-speed internet for years, so it's
Mm-hmm.
really all they've known since we've moved downstate, actually.
Oh, they would, if they had to deal with dial-up, I think they'd have an aneurysm.
Though our youngest refers to the dial-up sound as kind of the noise in her head some days when she's doing her college algebra.
Yeah. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I always kind of like the joke. It's like, man, in order for us to use the internet, we had to sacrifice a robot, and its death screams powered the way. And it's like, that is an amazing way to describe that sound.
Oh, goodness.
But, yeah.
How things have changed.
Oh, most definitely.
So true.
Yeah.
And just my adulthood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I can hear the sound in my head now.
Yeah, I can hear it right now myself.
Of course, every time you watch You've Got Mail, it's also the sound.
Which is one of those
That is
old
also
movies.
an older movie
One of those old movies that we have on DVD that gets thrown in on occasion.
that I also ended up purchasing on a streaming platform because I'm lazy.
Yeah, well, what you can do.
That's a fall movie. I don't know why I equate that to a fall movie because it kind of begins in fall and ends in spring. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well,
And in my brain,
man, movies over a decade old. Spoilers. You don't gotta say spoilers. It's
a few decades
when
when Tom Hanks was tolerable. Without his
it hits a
political
decade.
crap.
Spoiler. Just take the spoiler
Anyway.
warning off. It just is.
Yeah. Okay. So, my little side rant there.
Sure.
It's a fall movie.
Sure.
Don't know why. If I watch it, it's in the fall. Intentionally.
Well, it starts off, the little thing, it's like a bouquet of freshly sharpened pencils. They talk about a bouquet of freshly sharpened pencils getting ready to start school.
The smell of air, yes.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's like, so it puts your brain in fall.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
So.
Yeah.
Long week.
Yeah.
Nothing significant.
No, not really.
For the sake of the, TMI, but keeping it real, get to do another 24-hour urine test. I'm doing it tomorrow.
Yay.
Get that done.
Woo-hoo.
Get to drop that off. See the specialist on Tuesday.
Good times.
Go over the test results from all of the testing I had done in November. This one happened to be on. Oops, this one got forgotten by the doctor's office when they were going down the list with me, which shocker, or I would have gotten it done.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm just pretty sure we're going down the right road. I'm happy with the results so far, and we'll see what he has to say
Which is
about
very cool.
any
Glad to hear that.
alterations he wants to make. And it's not 100% gone. Never believed anything would be 100%.
No,
but I have felt a difference, which I didn't ever believe there was anything that could affect that. But
improvement is improvement.
Yes, it is. I've been doing different Pilates moves, right? Not even the daily. I admit that I haven't been doing it daily, but I've had a few things that weren't so kind to me. My thighs and then my abs right now. I'm like, wow.
Sure.
Been a minute since I've had this level of pain.
Sure.
And then I've decided that Sunday will be my rack day. So I'm excited. Actually lift tomorrow. My 1 day a week. It'll be Sundays. Just trying to get back to a routine. I think that's important. Routine will be important.
Yeah,
habits
are good.
I've spent the last
good
month
habits are good.
experimenting. Working it out.
Yeah, which is cool.
Forgive me while I drink my cocoa and you hear the dog gnawing on her carcass.
On her stuffy carcass.
Yeah, her stuffy carcass.
Yes, we buy them pre-unstuffed, otherwise.
Well, that's not the duck, is it?
No, that's not the duck.
Of course, I go on Pinterest a lot, look up things, look up keto stuff. You know how the ads are now. Everything haunts you, okay? You can't talk in front of your phone without something haunting you.
Yep.
It's chasing you. Well, the indestructible stuffed animals for your dog came up. And they're not indestructible.
Now when it comes to our dog.
So when I got an email the other day asking me for a review, I very happily left that review with some pictures. In 40 minutes, she had a hole in it.
Yep.
And 11 days later, it is a mangled, stuffless mess.
Yes.
Just took out the squeaker, took out the stuffing.
Yes.
It's all gone.
Yep. It just so many threads everywhere.
I think because they make multiple layers of threads, they think that makes it stronger, and that was not the case.
Well, and it's made from a heavy duty ripstop nylon.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
It's got long synthetic threads.
Just leaving more threads around my house.
Yeah, it's a lot of threads. Everywhere.
Kind of awful, actually.
A little annoying, but then again, it's like these things end up with little patches of fur all over the place.
She's back to her cheap stuffy.
Yep.
And she's happy.
Yep.
But anyway.
Just rip off little chunks filled with slobber and then leave them.
She's really not hard to please.
Not really. Give her something to, it needs to have a squeaker so she can rip it out and throw it on the floor.
Just to take away its voice.
That makes it that makes her happy, and then she just slowly gnaws on it for the next couple of weeks, which sometimes just sounds awful, just terrible, which you may have heard in the background with the fur squeaking on her teeth. It's a disconcerting sound,
but it makes her happy.
It does. It gives her something to burn off some of that energy she's got.
Since we don't really walk much in the winter.
No, she has no fur. It's like she'd freeze.
I don't do cold. She doesn't do cold. And we do put sweaters and coats on her, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter.
But they don't fit her.
She does not like her feet.
No.
And we've tried, and she does not do the boots. Like,
Nope.
she freaks out.
Yep, not a
with
fan.
the boots.
Not a fan.
We've tried. We've tried the things to be able to go out in the winter, and
Yeah, she
just
nopes.
makes her freak out.
She nopes right out of that. Nope, nope, nope. Mm-mm.
She is a, spring, summer, fall. We walk until...
She's a warmer climate dog, effectively. That's what she is. You'd probably like Arizona. You are kind of solar powered.
Yeah, she does love her sun.
She does.
She loves to lay in it. She loves to run in it.
Just go lay out in the yard, just soaking up soaking it up, just recharging those internal batteries. She's a sweetie. She's a butthead, but a sweetie.
She's a sweetie.
And here we go.
I
talked to her.
So you chose the topic today.
Sure. Yes,
and
I
I found it
did.
interesting since I've had some thoughts myself this week with a new client that I have that's struggling in a way that I haven't quite dealt with before.
Sure.
And trying to be respectful and tread on that for what it is as a counselor.
Definitely need to be cautious.
So I found it interesting that you picked this.
Well, like I mentioned, we've known a lot of people over the years that have had marriage difficulties that came through one way or the other, and there's no such thing as a one size fits all when you're talking about human relationships. Just because no two people are going to be perfect for each other in all ways and all things, especially not in the beginning. And then over time, I'll have that, I heard it, opposites attract, and then opposites attack. It's like that thing that was, oh, it's so cute. And when, the little snore when you're sleeping, that little, like a little purr sleeping. And then you're like 2 years in and you want to, that little purr when they're sleeping makes you want to mother them with a pillow. It's like, it's like.
Wow.
A little exaggerated. But I mean, not that you snore. You don't snore. It's just.
Unless I'm sick.
And, I have my moments too. But, I think we all do on occasion. But it's that kind of thing. It's like it's really easy to let smaller things, escalate into big things. And I came across this, and I thought it was an interesting way to flip the script.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because sometimes it's a mindset change. A lot of times, conflict can be avoided by changing how you perceive the situation. Another one of those things I heard is like, you aren't having a problem, you're experiencing a problem, and the idea is it's you two versus the problem, not you two against each other. Like you have to, it's like, the seat up, seat down argument. Okay, it's like it's a problem, but it's not you versus the other guy. It's you two got to figure out the problem together. It's never been an issue here, but it's
yeah.
But it's you got to change your mindset. Changing the mindset changes the situation. So you adjust your perception and move on. And I thought this was another one of those little ways. It's like change the way you look at this. Especially people ask, I've heard people, it's like, well, how do you keep it fresh for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years? Like, you don't. You don't. It's like, it's not new. There's a lot of times, and in all honesty, you don't want it to be new every day. You want that little bit of normalcy, and it's like, I know I can come home and I can get a hug, and and my day will get better.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want that to be different tomorrow. I don't want that to be different next week. There's certain things. It's like you want some normalcy. It's how do you embrace now. It's like it doesn't have to be new every time. You can embrace it and appreciate it for what it is. And at the same time, you're going to grow and you're going to change and life is going to happen and things are going to adjust. And you need to figure out, okay, how are we going to be our new normal in this new situation? And how do we move forward? And like I said, this is just one of those, I think it's a way of refocusing and adjusting the perception a little bit, adjusting how you look at it so that 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road, you're still on the same page and still working in the same direction for each other. So just take the glasses off so I can read this. I'm currently my glasses broke, and then
I think we mentioned that.
And then my backup glasses broke, and my backups are and so I'm on the third layer deep of my backup glasses, and these ones don't have the bifocals.
But we go to the eye doctor in a week and a half.
Yeah.
So
I'm currently, it's like, man, looking at stuff nearby, it's just not working. Which is, just one of those, I know, I get it. I'm getting old. Okay, fine. Sure. I don't hide from that fact.
I don't think that's entirely it. I think it's, 3 prescriptions back. But anyway.
Well, no, the general prescription is good. But the lack of the reading section of the glasses is prohibitive at the moment. Anyway.
Okay.
So, the prompt I found was, and I can't say if this is an original piece or what, but so I'm just gonna just read it here, and if I find out otherwise, we'll note that later. But marriage is not the end of the search for love. It's the end of the search for the person to love. The search for ways to love that person has just begun. And and I liked that thought. I like that idea. And in some ways, it's like I can think back. It's like, you like words of affirmation and acts of service. That's kind of your thing. And cool, awesome. I had to, and I still work on it because that's not a native tongue for me. But as our life has changed and your health and just different medical stuff has happened, and then you throw in kids and jobs in school, it's like how to express that. How do I do that? How can I show that affection? How can I find a new way of expressing that love? How do I find a new way of loving you in the moment? I can relate to this kind of concept. It's like it's an active decision to keep moving forward. And there's the squeak. The dog is still here. Anyway. When I showed you this in the car while we're running errands and doing stuff, I kind of mentioned, it's like, when we were first started seeing each other, it was like, it was like I would show you affection. I would take you to the mall and we'd get Chinese food and watch a movie.
It was kind of our thing. And Taco Bell. Mm-hmm.
Well, when we couldn't afford the
Back when
Chinese...
Taco Bell was good.
Yeah. Back when...
Yeah, sorry. I just said that out loud.
No.
It was different.
It was different.
Different options.
Yes.
But don't veer too far off your point.
But, and at the time, that's what we could do. I didn't make a lot of money. You didn't have a lot of money. The mall was 45 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a bit of a thing. It was, that was spending time in the car and listening to silly music and sometimes not so silly music and talking about our days and then going and cruising the mall as teenagers are wont to do, back in the day. I think there's this little side note. It's like people are missing out. It's like go to the mall. Go to the freaking mall. People watch. Go do something new and interesting. Anyway,
No, stay.
Quit staying home
Get
and watching
back,
movies.
No, you get back on the path.
Anyway, and it's like because of health issues and dietary restrictions and just stuff like that, it's like we can go do that, but it doesn't have we can kind of do that. I can get some Chinese food and you can watch me eat it, which that's just not fun for anybody. I still enjoy the Chinese
Not that
food.
I haven't done it.
Not that you haven't, but it's like
I did it today.
a little bit.
With
Yeah.
the Cracker Barrel.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes. But we came home and ate it rather than spending an hour in a restaurant watching me eat. I was like, I'm not going to do that to you. It's
Done it plenty, regardless.
Yeah, but it wasn't just me. It was almost always, there was, probably the girls. I mean, it was just me and you. Forget that. Let's just go home. It's like, that just doesn't seem right to me. But we had to learn, or I had to learn how to adjust that. It's like, okay, so no, what are we going to do with that? And we're still figuring that out. I mean, as you think about a good chunk of, like typical, normal going out kind of thing is usually special activity and food.
Yeah, that's most going out.
Well, when you take food out of the equation, now what? And therein is a fundamental question. Now what? But I think we've, to me, this also kind of spoke to us. We've got, unfortunately, too many friends who's, over the years who've, marriages have fallen apart. And for all kinds of different reasons, not trying to, not going to pigeonhole any one thing or any one person over that, because, too many dynamics, way too many dynamics.
Quite a few.
At some point, one or both, and it's not like it's an active, conscious decision. But at some point, they stop looking for new ways to show love to their partner. Again, one or both. And then you get to a point where, okay, I'm not feeling it anymore. And then sometimes you start looking to somebody else outside of the partnership. And then it's all downhill from there. But at that point, it's already gone massively downhill.
Typically.
You don't start there. Something else opens the door. And I'm not sure, it's like, how do you counsel? How do you counsel? It's like, I'd be cautious of how I use that term because,
yeah,
being that you're a professional and I'm a layperson. And so I got to be careful, and I have to use a great deal of caution in how I utilize that term. But when I advise, or how do you advise somebody that's in the first steps of that? Or how do you tell people who are just starting down that path? It's like, this is where like in a wedding. You're married. You've both agreed that you're no longer going to look for somebody else. Now you need to flip that switch to, how do I love you tomorrow? How do I find a new way to love you tomorrow? Because I can only love you the way I love you today.
Well,
and how do I love you tomorrow?
How I will frame this. Okay. For instance, when you're having marital issues, and intimacy is like the first thing that people will say kind of goes down the drain.
Yeah. Okay, and
sure.
Which
would you want to be loving and intimate with somebody that upsets you greatly or treats you poorly?
No, and I don't want it to sound like.
But I don't just mean like sexual intimacy.
No.
I mean like any intimacy, any vulnerability, any trust. Having real conversation, going out of way to spend time, going out of way to do something nice. None of that's going to happen.
Well, and there comes a point where, in a lot, and again, it takes two people to make a marriage work. It only takes one person to really make it start falling apart. And one person can't carry a marriage is carried by two people. And one person might be able to carry the fundamental load for a while, but they can't carry it forever. And I think we've both seen marriages where either or both parties were there. I think everybody's probably seen that. And when you're the one carrying the load and the other one's wanting the benefit, the problem is people don't always see that. And they become blinded. It's very easy to become, and I'm saying this as somebody. It's like I'm preaching to the choir. It's very easy to become blind to what's going on, because you're so close to it. You can't see the forest for the trees, and a lot of times it comes down to, it's like somebody stopped communicating effectively or somebody stopped listening effectively. And that in and of itself is a difficult minefield to wander through.
Sure.
But it's the one I don't think there's any relationship where you don't have to figure that out. Anyway, but I think that also kind of falls into the looking for new ways to love your partner. It's in order for it to work, both people have to be there. Even if
it's about perception and priority entering a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first few years
definitely.
You're figuring that out.
Yeah.
You're figuring out how to maintain your individuality while uniting a life. Most individuals, especially if you haven't lived together ahead of time,
which I would always suggest don't do that. It ends poorly.
But we didn't.
Statistically,
that was quite a learning curve.
I'm talking about. I'm awesome.
True story. If I haven't told it already, that I don't know how many months in it was. It was months. It was not years. It was like months into our marriage that you would refold the laundry. I would wash it, I would fold it, and you would refold it.
Mm-hmm.
And this was back in the day when you were far more adamant about folding it as if you were still in the Army. I mean, you were actually. You would have still been, and you would have gone National Guard at that point. Yep. But you had a routine and a way about everything when it came to that kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
So I do remember very vividly the day that I said, like, I asked you, like, what am I doing wrong? Just like, why do you keep refolding it? It infuriated me. And you knew that, and you would always just kind of like not answer or blow it off or whatever as to like what was wrong with the way I folded it, or you try to hide that you've refolded it. So anyway, very vividly remember, and I don't know if you do, the day that you finally answered me and you looked at me just so deadpan and you're like, it's not worth trying to show you how to do it. You're just going to do it wrong anyway. Like, what in the hell was that?
I don't entirely remember the whole thing, to be honest. It was a while ago.
How many years? How many years did it take me to fold your laundry again or have anything to do with your laundry? How many years?
Well, and in all honesty,
how many years?
It's been a while. It's like
it was like over 20.
Yeah. Well, and
it was bad, or almost 20.
Well,
at least.
And to be fair, it's like, part of it really, it came down to, there's certain things that were just very persnickety. It was in my head to do it like that.
Oh my gosh, you're ridiculous about so many things. And children changed you.
Part of that was, it's like, in my head, my brain was very much on that. It's like, when you folded t-shirts, they had to be the exact width of a dollar bill. And that was still in my head, and it took forever to let that go. The other one was it's like if my jeans aren't folded a certain way, they don't fit in the drawer right. And it's like, I'm used to it. I know what it is. It's like I don't got to think about it. I just do it like this, and I have never, and I am very appreciative of the things that you've done to take care of our house and done for me. but I have never asked you to do my laundry. We've been married. We've been together a long time.
So,
90
fun fact.
94. 30 years.
I was kind of brought up to think that it was the woman's job.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And didn't really know the difference, didn't question it. It wasn't a conversation in our home.
Mm-hmm.
And you sure didn't question it either or try to stop me.
No. But at the same time, if somebody's doing something for you, are you going to stop them? Like, no. Don't do that.
So you either didn't know how, and this is
Well,
first time we're addressing this by the way.
Well, and
you either didn't know how to tell me that, like, you prefer to just do it yourself, or thought I'd give up. I'm not sure which one.
honestly, I don't know.
But it pissed me
I
off
don't know.
that you go back and refold it. Like, what
Sure.
the hell did I waste my time folding it for? And then
Sure.
you wouldn't even tell me what I was doing wrong or why you were doing it.
In all honesty, part of my brain probably thought it was just so damn trivial, it wasn't worth the effort.
Oh, I didn't take that trivial.
And sure, and again, it's a perception thing. It's like, it's laundry. Okay, well, it's laundry.
The truth is, though,
I mean,
if we come back to your prompt, children also change the dynamic.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
They take your energy.
Life
They're
changes
life
very
suckers.
quickly. And if your life doesn't change drastically when you have kids, you're not in your kids' lives.
They're life suckers.
In a lot of ways, they do change a lot of things in ways you can't even comprehend. And in the moment, it's not fun. When you look back, it's like, man, I'm so glad that happened.
There has to be some intentionality
Oh, sure.
in maintaining relationships.
Yes.
So if the better you have things solid going into that phase,
Mm-hmm.
the better off you will be. If you don't, then you're going to struggle.
Sure. Well, and there's a big chunk of, and I mentioned before, man, I quote or paraphrase Jordan Peterson way too much, I think.
A lot.
A lot. But at the same time, man, he covers a lot of ground in a lot of different subjects very quickly. And he was, it's like, you can either deal with a problem once or deal with it every day for the rest of your life. And if you want the as he puts it, I'm a very agreeable person. I'm very high, he's very high in the agreeableness scale. He doesn't like conflict, which is amazing. If you listen to the he doesn't like conflict. It's like, no, I don't like conflict, which is why I get it out of the way. Like, you know what? Have the conflict. Have that conversation that's kind of hard. It's like, we should have. And I didn't know this at the time. And as much as I loved your parents for who they were, my parents didn't teach me how to do that. Your parents sure as crap didn't teach you how to do that. No. You just kind of take certain things for granted, which you did, and which wasn't really right for either of us. But we didn't know any better. I didn't know any better.
Even with our massively conflicting schedules, I still had a sense of the wife is supposed to do the cooking and cleaning and
Sure.
arranging and planning and all the things.
Now,
hence,
sure.
You didn't have to make a whole lot of decisions and take care of a whole lot of things, whether or not you were ever really conscious of it.
Sure.
Until we had children.
Sure.
And even then,
things change.
It was just make sure that they were alive.
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
I'll still take care of all the things.
Yeah. There was a lot of that. And part of that is I was using you as a way to mitigate certain neurological impairments that I have dealt with. Like my ADHD
Holy
brain.
cow, did you just say that out loud?
Sure. I can freely admit that. I am not, it's like, I have enough humility to understand that it's like, I, for a really large period of my time and of my life, even including now, what day of the week it is does not come across my head at all unless I got paperwork to fill out. I couldn't tell you the date. I got to look at my phone. And I've never been able to tell you the date or what day of the week it was. The only way in school I knew what day of the week it was what show did I watch before I went to bed. That's how I knew what day of the week it was. So when it came time to, we got to pay this on Monday and we got this on the 13th and we got this. It's like,
were terrible.
You might as well be speaking gibberish.
Listen, there were barely cell phones, let alone apps for cell phones back then. And
yeah.
It was terrible.
And we both kind of figured out pretty fast, like, if you put me in charge of that, we're going to be in trouble.
Well, we had separate checking accounts
Yes.
for quite some time
Yeah.
into our marriage until it just got really bad.
It didn't work. And,
Yeah,
and it's like, you know what? And I got to own that. That was where I was. It's like now with the stuff that I have available, it's like, okay, we can, that and it's like, okay, we can either fill up the car and eat saltines and ramen for the next week, or I think I can get by with a half a tank and we can actually get some bologna.
Back when we had to
that
care
was-
about how much we were paying per gallon. Like, and it like you had to pay attention. Like, you had to notice. You had to care.
Yep. Oh, when you're watching that, it's like, okay, the price went down a nickel. Time to fill up. And that mattered. Like, I had a buddy who would go to it's like, okay, I need gas. And he put $2 in. Like, seriously, dude? I don't think we ever got it that bad, but there were times, especially when we
got that bad.
I mean, when you get started, like you're young in your life, you're not making a whole lot of money. Nowadays, man, we could just schedule stuff and have it taken care of, and for the most part, we're going to be fine. We don't have to think about it too hard.
I'm looking forward to the day when that just gets far more easier and less things on the list. But
Sure.
we're working on that.
We're working on that,
and I am
we're
very happy with where we are.
We are making huge improvements, but we're a little off topic, I guess. But
I don't think so entirely, because
Not entirely.
It's marriage. See,
Yeah.
there was a lot of time I did not like you. I loved you. I did
Sure.
not like
Sure.
you
Sure.
because you could not talk about a lot of subject matter that should have been normal in a marriage.
yes,
You should have been able to talk about finances.
but did your parents talk about it? No.
No, it was always a fight. You know what I saw? I saw fights when my mother wanted to spend money on something that my father didn't think that she needed. And it was a fight, and then this is what I call it spending wars, because then she'd end up buying it.
Yep.
And then he'd get pissed, and then he would go buy what he wanted and make sure he spent more than her.
Yep.
And it was a constant struggle in that way, that they would outspend each other to piss each other off
Yeah, she got
on stuff they did not need.
Yep. That's how we ended up with a 50-inch flat screen in the back room.
That's a true story.
Yeah.
Now, no, did they have real conversations with me about budgeting and retiring and paying bills? No. But did I know what money was?
Sure.
Yes. Did I see how it was talked about? Yeah,
Sure.
it was just grossly unhealthy.
Yeah. And my family dynamic, there wasn't conversations about money in front of the kids.
Yeah, they took it old school.
My
parents just went into massive amounts of debt and blamed each other.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Primarily my dad would. The debt thing was mostly him. Be that as it may, I would just occasionally just see him get mad about not being able to pay something. That was the extent of the money conversations. I had no freaking clue how to talk about that stuff. None.
It was always anger. A lot of anger.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Even talking about my medical bills.
Oh, those. Well,
if I had to spend more money, I never looked forward to having to talk to you about that.
Well, and the thing is, it wasn't
up and really until just a couple years ago.
And the thing is, though, it's like this. It's not that I'm any less upset about the whole situation, because not. I
know your other emotions were coming out as anger.
Sure,
I know.
There's that. Yeah,
I can see that
and
now.
In part, it's like it wasn't. It was. I think, like, yeah, it's still. It's like, does it upset me? Yes. But I think you understand now that there's more to it than just, it's the money. No, it's not the money. It's not. Well, it's not just the money. Doctors are freaking expensive, and it's like all I know is like, oh, well, that doctor's appointment was literally 42 hours of my life to pay that. Okay, awesome. Okay,
you start counting hours of your life in terms of paying doctors. We've been there.
Well, no, and that's kind of how I
How many hours do I have to give away to pay for this?
Yes, and that's. I mean, That's how I make my money. Actually, I trade an hour of my life for a certain amount of money. And that's kind of how I taught the girls to look at it too. It's like, yeah, you can go buy that silly thing. But remember, you make this much money an hour. So you had to work 27 hours to buy that silly thing. Would you spend an entire day working your butt off to get that silly thing? And if you can't say yes, then why are you spending money on it? Because that's what you did. And yeah, they still buy their silly crap, but we all do. But I think in a good chunk of it's like our daughter just bought a really silly Lego set that was also a little bit pricey. It was pricey. She was undecided on whether or not to pull the trigger on that for well over a week because she was thinking about that. It's like, but I think part of it was, back around. It's like, there were two before that. Wow, rabbit trails. Anyway.
We've officially gone there. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of emotion around the fact that you were sick.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a fixer by nature. And when I can't fix something, it pisses me off.
I know.
And I can't fix that.
I know.
In fact, I can't help that.
I know.
Like, I can't do anything about it. I can just pay this doctor who's also not going to fix that.
No.
So he's like, okay, we paid a whole lot of money. A lot of money. I worked a lot of hours. I did a lot of crap that I didn't want to do. Driving on roads I don't want to drive on. Working in a place I don't want to work at. Fixing things for people who, quite frankly, aren't appreciative of the fact that I'm doing it for them. Just so that you can find out that they still can't do anything about it. So yeah, that I was angry. It angered me for all of that.
I think,
and on top of that, it's like there's just that general concern. It's like, okay, well, it's like we're going through all of this, and I still have to be concerned. It's like something's not right. How do we fix this? So there was all of that. I mean, I'm not saying that's all of it. I mean, because there's that part of you is like, why isn't what I'm doing enough? So anytime it's like, well, we can't afford to do this. It's like, why can't we afford to do this? I know how much I'm doing, and I know how much I'm getting out of it. And trust me, there should be a huge surplus compared to what I'm putting in and what I'm taking out.
Yeah, that'd be normal math.
That's normal math. And so, yeah, there was some of that, just that frustration. So, but to bring it back around to the topic.
To bring it back around.
I had to learn, and I'm still working on this, but I had to learn that my response was not showing you love. And I think you had to find, see the love behind my concern. It's like, was I upset? Yes. But it wasn't just, what the heck? There was concern behind it. It's like, okay, well, if we do this, what about next? What about, and it still comes down to, what about you? Are you going to be okay? Is this actually going to help? Or are we spinning our tires? Or did we just waste another year of our life going down another road that didn't work? There was that. And so even in little things like that, and so I try to be more mellow, even when I don't necessarily feel it. It's not that, I'm not saying bottle it up. I'm not saying bottle it up. I'm just saying it's like, you don't have to, everything doesn't have to be 11. You can dial it back a little bit.
It was a slow process, but when I hit my bottom a few years ago, when I'm crawling my way back up, we did that together, and that is when I think you started to turn that corner. Because as you pointed out in the beginning, it's the love language, right?
Yeah.
And I had to stop blaming myself, and I had to stop projecting that most, even though I still have my hard days.
Sure.
And that did affect our ability to really share well in that and function well in that.
And I admit, I'm still working on it.
I know. I know.
But there's intent. There is intent. It's like I might be falling on my face a lot.
I had to hit my bottom before you could see that I couldn't front anymore. Like, there was no more fronting. There was no more help. So like, okay, we're doing this together. How's this going to look? And that meant the mentality had to shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I've accepted your limitations for what they are, and we've moved forward as best we can,
mm-hmm.
right? And money has still been part of that, of course, always.
Yes.
Love those out-of-network doctors, but there's a reason,
No.
and we could spend like 5 days talking about why, but we won't. Why they're out of network, but
no. I understand completely.
as far as
I'm just not happy about
the
it.
search for love, right? When this talks about the search for ways to love, that person has just begun.
Yep.
That does have to be a conscious understanding that throughout the phases of life, the seasons of life,
mm-hmm.
that you will love your partner differently.
Yeah.
You have to.
Well, and I think
As you brought up my chronic illness.
Yeah.
That is a very
Yes.
different thing to live through.
Yes.
To love through.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone through our seasons and our phases. I've had brain surgery.
Yes.
I've had a kidney
Mm-hmm.
removed. And then the other next major surgery ended up being an ablation, and who knows if that'll end up being a hysterectomy or not. I don't know. Waiting to get to a different specialist next month, and we'll see what she has to say about that. But the major phases in the beginning, when it's diagnosed in terms and they're tossed out there, and you're like, yeah, but what do I do with that? As you have pointed out already in previous episodes, it's really been the majority of our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I was about 20 with the first diagnosis of polycystic ovarian syndrome. So that's 25 years. That's approximately 25 years.
Was it that or the endometriosis?
Then it was the endometriosis.
Okay.
Endometriosis was after that.
Okay.
That's what led to what was believed to have been a miscarriage, but by the time I actually was seen, it was not substantial enough with the testing that they had done.
Sure. Yeah. That was...
and I understand that because it was like a month later, and it was what I described and the pain I was in, and it apparently was the result of the tissues and things that they had seen in the uterus that I did not end up getting a DNC. But anyway, that's why I've never officially said it, because it's like when they ask you like how many pregnancies have you had, because it would have been days or weeks at best if I was.
Yep.
And again, by the time I was actually tested, a long period of time had passed. So anyway, they were going off of what I was describing, what I was experiencing as symptoms thereafter, and then what they saw with camera. So anyway, that's the vast majority of our marriage. We're working on 28 years.
Yep.
And when you're talking 25 of that thus far, even though it started slow and it super escalated, so like, like the last 13 have been the escalated, right? And then like 5 of that has been like surgeries and life altering decisions, and we've drained 401ks a lot over the years and all the stuff, but then I finally said enough is enough. We can't do that anymore. We're not doing it anymore. For all of the out of network medical help that I've received, it just couldn't be that way anymore. So hence it had to change. We had to change.
Yes.
Big time on how we were doing things and the way that we went about it. I say all that to say, communicating is hard in and of itself. And you're absolutely right. The way that we were raised influences that. It influences that for everyone.
Oh, yeah. But I've said in times before, yes, your parents are responsible for making you the way you are, but it's your responsibility. It's your fault for staying that way.
And how do you love an angry person? I struggled to love an angry person. You were angry. You were angry at how much you had to work. You were angry that there wasn't enough money. You were angry that I couldn't be fixed. You were angry that our daughter couldn't be fixed. There was a lot of anger going around at different points.
Well, and
let alone what was going on with my family and the way that certain things went down with them.
Yeah.
Don't co-sign for your mom. As my dad put me, it's your fault for trusting your mom. There's been some ugliness around topics that were already ugly.
Sure.
I'm not saying we always got it right, because we have made decisions that were not always right.
No, we've goofed up. We've definitely goofed up. We've definitely had our. So trust me when we say this is a bad idea. We've been there. We've done that.
And your predominant emotion most of the time was anger, and I was not an educated wife, just like I wasn't an educated mother. I just needed to be a wife. I just needed to be a mother, no matter how educated I was. But there is that when it talks about loving, right? There's the you love somebody no matter what. Those are your vows, for better or for worse.
Yes.
It doesn't always mean that you.
No.
You never hit me.
No.
You never went to the name calling. We never went there, but it was just the anger. Mm-hmm. You know what? I was actually blessed that was it.
Well, and
I think if you would have gotten any worse, I don't know how I would have dealt with it.
The anger wasn't typically, let's say anger wasn't typically at you or about you. It was the situation itself.
Sure.
It's like it would be very understandable if it had been you were there. I was angry around you, not with you. But you were the one that was there, so you kind of caught the effect of it. And
it was about me.
In the same way that you're the one that's sick, but you're not your sickness.
Yeah.
In that kind of way.
Well, of course I understand.
It's kind of hard to be mad at the illness without being mad. It's like I'm mad. There's that thing in you I'm pissed at. It's not you. It's
I talk to clients about that are mad at God. Yep, you can be mad.
Yep.
Go ahead and tell him. He can already hear
you. You can say it. He's like, you can be angry. He's like, be angry. Be mad.
But if we didn't have the foundation of love for one another, that I knew you loved me and I loved you no matter what.
Yeah. Well, and people forget. Love is not just that warm, fuzzy feeling.
No.
It would be awesome if that stuck around in a nice, consistent basis all the time, regardless of what life throws at you. That's not how that works. But in the same way that ancient Egyptians had like 50 words for sand and Eskimos have like 50 words for snow. We only have one word, but it has like 50 different meanings for love. And there's the warm fuzzy part. Yes, there's the warm fuzzy part, and that part is amazing, and it's awesome. And it's also the most fragile and the shortest lived. It disappears. If you feed it, it'll go away. If you don't feed it, it'll go away quicker. But it's also sometimes the easiest to get back for a period of time. And you can still nurture it, but you still have moments where I'm not feeling warm and fuzzy today. I'm not feeling warm and fuzzy towards you today. That's relevant to our relationship. It's a great thing to foster. It's a great thing to nurture in each other. You want it there because it makes everything else so much more nice. It's like makes it just that much more better.
Of course.
That's a lousy bit of grammar. But there's the love that they talk about. That marriage is built on love. It is, but it's not the warm, fuzzy love. It's the crappy day, and I still got your back. You pissed me off, and I'm still here. The you goofed up, and I'm still here. I goofed up, and you're still here. Regardless of how I feel in the moment, I might be pissed off. I might just your presence is angering me. But I'm still here, and I'm not going anywhere, and I got your back, period, no matter what. It's that kind of love. It's the commitment side of it. It's the I love you regardless of how I might feel about you. It's that kind of love. And that's the commitment you make. And if you're going to make that commitment, then you might as well step out and make it as good as you can get it. It's like, I'm not going anywhere, period. So how about we work towards making it great for both of us? And that's when you got to just, you start forcing yourselves, like, how am I going to show her love today? It might be, like, I kind of cracked a joke in the car. It's like, it might be, oh, look, I brought her chocolate. It's like, I saw this chocolate bar. I thought it looked awesome, so I brought you one. It's a silly little thing. It's like, maybe you show up with flowers sometime. Maybe it's hey, you know what? I took care of this for you. It's like, you do those little things to show that you are appreciated, that you are needed, that you are wanted, that you are, warm, fuzzy, love you. And that engenders the warm, fuzzy love in return.
I warm, fuzzy love you too.
The Parks and Rec, I love you and I like you.
Yes, I love you and I like you.
Which is awesome. That's where you want to start. But as life goes on, sometimes I don't like you so much. That's
true.
And that's fine. That's normal. That's human beings interacting with each other. Because at some point, the friggin' bedhead, the bedhead and body odor and morning breath is the whole day. It's like, sometimes, like, it's like, I want to look at you and go, ah, and what I'm really thinking is, it happens. We have those days. We're human beings where we're, it's like, and maybe it's not, maybe it's the stinking thinking, and it's the, the attitude that is just terrible today. Like, yeah, you slept weird and you had a bad dream, and the work sucked and your boss is being a doofus, or the car broke down, and it's like, and you're just there and you're not being lovable, and you know what? I'm going to love you anyway.
Yes.
And what do I got? It's like, oh, you're having a lousy day. What can I do right now for you to make you smile? How do I today show you I love you? How do I find for myself another way to look beyond the stinking thinking or the bed hair and see that person that I love beyond it? And I mean, and again, sometimes it's just a mind shift. It's like, we all have our days where it's like, I feel horrible. I feel like I look horrible. I'm Quasimodo without the pleasant attitude. It's like, and like, you know what? It's like, you're allowed to think that way, but I don't like the fact that you think that way about yourself, because I love you. Aw. Well, and because we're not, I don't think, crossing any lines. Sometimes you have some body image issues.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I am what they say, recovered anorexic. I didn't know that was an actual thing until, I was like grown adult and just a few years ago.
Sure.
But that's an actual thing.
Sure.
Eating disorder recovery. Like, there's a symbol in the whole thing, and it's part of the tattoo that my daughter drew for me.
Yep.
That's been lifelong.
Mm-hmm.
I've struggled with it.
Yep. Well, and without, don't need to go the TMI part, but
someday I'll get there.
No. What I'm about to say, but I recently looked you in the eyes and said, I don't care. I love you. This is the body that carries you around. This is the body that brought our beautiful little girls into this world. It's like I love you. And as long as you're in that body, I love this body, regardless, because I love you. Sometimes it's a matter of change your attitude. So if you only look on the outside, are you really loving the person that's in there?
That's fair.
Because the body falls apart. I am not in as good a shape as I was 20 years ago.
It's true.
My knees are better than they've been in decades because I let them heal. Cartilage takes forever. But at the same time, my lower back is probably as good as it's ever going to get. work really hard at making sure I don't do anything to make it worse. It's like I'm physically probably not gonna. I'm not. It's like I'm not gonna be able to step into the freaking octagon and
No,
I used to butt heads with people.
I mean, give me the right day and I'd go.
I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. I'm just saying I would definitely pay the price for doing that.
Angry in a while.
I can definitely tap into that. It's not gone. I have management to deal with, so it's like I can tap into the anger.
Yikes!
This has been a week for it at work, actually. Not just me.
We won't go down that road.
We're not going to go down that road. But it's like if you just love the people get hooked on the appearance of things, and like. Not to say that you don't need to take care of your body. You do. You need to take care of your body because it's the only one important. It's the only one you've got, and you want it running as well as possible for your whole life. It's kind of like having a car. It's like if you want to have that car for 20 years, you've got to take care of it. You got to keep it clean. You got to keep it tuned up, and you got to, when there's a little issue, you got to deal with it before it becomes a big issue. But everything is degrading. It's always going to be degrading. You're never, you can maximize, you can improve. It's like I could get better than I am right now, but I'm not going to be where I was, 20 and 30 years ago. It's like biology doesn't really let that happen because I'm 50, not 20.
That's fair.
But it's like if you love the person in the body, the body's the meat mech that you're piloting around. It's not who you are. It just happens to be the vessel you drive, and you had very little to do in the deciding of what body you got.
I didn't. No.
Yeah.
Trying to get to the bottom of a lot of things for the insulin resistance and the stuff and all the things that make sense for why it's so hard to lose weight, hard to keep it off, all that stuff. The sensitivity and the inflammation and, all the fun things that have made it difficult. And now gaining muscle mass is also a whole different category. So, while I try to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
Yes.
Lose weight again after my body freaked out.
Yes.
For 3 surgeries. And
actually
it was freaking out after 2.
Yeah.
But I had a pretty high amount of inflammation going on. And recovery
yeah.
and not moving and injured shoulder and all that crap. But anyway.
Yes.
Also next to that, before we end, I think it's key to point out too that I love you brought up the physical body, right? You should look beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
However, then there's also the idea that if you're in check and you're in sync and you're communicating along the way, an actual intentional relationship, you should be able to call each other out when you're going down the wrong road mentally and emotionally. And that could stop some of the derailment that tends to happen.
That could be really tricky. We
just don't love each other anymore, and we don't think alike anymore, and we have different ideas about how to raise the kids. I've heard all kinds of things.
Sure.
I've heard all kinds of things that are all valid and been there, done that.
Sure.
I tell people all the time, been on both sides of the couch for different reasons.
Oh, yeah.
But you should still be able to have conversation. And I know we get wrapped up in kids.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing.
But the kids, when they come on board, that's a huge, huge thing.
So then I talked with couples all the time. Usually it's not even the couple because I've only done a few couples. Honestly, handful. I don't do many. It's normally an individual that's having a lot of life stresses, including their marriage or including the parenting, and trying to help them piece some things together and work through that, because it's not marital counseling or couples counseling. So I got to be careful the angle that I take with it.
Sure.
But it's intentionality. Can you say that monthly, even monthly, maybe not weekly, if not daily, can you find the time to just be with your spouse? Can you go away at least once a quarter, like a long weekend together? I'm not talking the big fancy vacation.
No,
just a weekend away.
Yep.
No matter how poor you are, no matter what you got going on, can you figure out something to be together without your children? That's really the most basic baseline thing. that you like each other, you want to be in it. It's not like you're in full blown like marital chaos, but you're feeling the struggles. Don't know what to do about it. Then it's getting back to some basics.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have some date time
Yeah.
with your spouse, with your partner? It doesn't get more basic than that.
No.
And
No,
we've
and
always
so- and-
we struggled with that.
Yeah,
So I could see where some of our struggles continued longer than they
Sure.
maybe
Sure.
needed to.
Well, you know,
But
it's like
everybody's in a different boat on that.
yeah, that. And
but at least
hindsight,
sure.
we know better now.
But once we got past some really serious, terrible things in probably our worst of our worst times, 2007, 2008, to get past that though, it was intentionality. And it did come back around to the, how do we just spend time with each other?
Mm-hmm.
How can we just be together? And it wasn't hard when you lost your job. So then I picked up the slack in as many ways as I could, and I was working a lot, but you were there when I got home, and the weekends were there, and just, it's the phases and stages of life, right? The mentality that you have as you're going through the things, if you're in it together, that helps. And if you can keep the communication channels open and honest and vulnerable and not feel like you have to be caged in or say certain things or not say certain things to appease your partner, if that's not okay. That's something that has to be addressed.
Honesty is important.
Communication breakdown is one of those huge factors that leads to bad things.
Yes, it's almost where it starts. That's like almost always, like, from what I've seen, where it really, it's like you stop talking and then everything just kind of steamrolls from there.
And I'm not talking about too the idea like you have abusive situation. That's not what I'm talking about.
That's an entirely different
That's
animal.
a whole different category.
Yeah.
Mental, emotional, or physical abuse. That's a different conversation.
It's another very, very long conversation. Yes.
But even just for this idea that if you could look at your relationship as your prompt has mentioned, it's ending the search for somebody to love and beginning loving the person you're with.
Yeah, you and constantly searching. Well, and how? Again, I don't know who said.
But
it.
I don't always need chocolate.
No, it's not about need. Chocolate's never about need.
I don't need it. At all.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't recall who said it, but if you're the same person now that you were 20 years ago, you've wasted the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Growth is inevitable. And it's not always about loving the person you married. It's loving who they are now. And giving them a reason to love you, who you are now. So I think it's bi-directional communication. You have to be talking to each other. You both have to be intentional. And admittedly, the levels of intent don't have to be 100% reciprocal all the time. You know, it's like everybody has their days and their weeks and their months sometimes, even years sometimes, where I'm giving you everything I've got. Well, you know, your 100% might be the other guy's 20%. But you give what you got, but learning to love the person who's in front of you. Looking for that spark of like, I love that about you. And then striving to be a person worthy of receiving that from the other person. You know, there's, you know, it's, you know, this prompt is, you know, more or less learning, you know, you found your person and now you have to continually find your way to love them. But I think that, you know, you could keep it going is you got to constantly find ways to be worthy of being loved in return.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
It's like, and, you know, part of it is, don't be a dick, I guess. It's like, you know, it's like,
wow.
You know, I mean, and sometimes it's like, be grateful. You know, it's like, acknowledge hey, you know, you made dinner for me, thank you. It's like, I don't think I've ever eaten a meal where I didn't say thank you.
Typical. Yeah.
Because it's like, you know what? I am thankful. You didn't have to do that. I appreciate that. Thank you. You know, it's like, for the most, you usually beat me to doing my work laundry. Usually.
You just get it done, man.
Yeah, you just get done. And at the same time, thank you. You didn't have to do that. I appreciate it. You know, it's, you know.
And even now at my busiest, I tell the girls, and they're busy too. They have their lives and their schedules, and we all conflict. But I always say, it doesn't matter, Dad. Dad, there has to be dinner for Dad.
Like, well,
right?
Like, my
whether that's leftovers, whether that's you figure it out, you know, like, you got to help me because Mom's working now.
Yeah. Well, and I think I always put it like this: like, look, you're going to be eating. Could you please make enough so I have some too?
Yeah, that's general. It's just like, a general rule.
Oh, you made grilled cheese. Awesome. I love a good grilled cheese. Oh, you made quesadillas. Cool. Would you mind making me one too? So there's one waiting for me when I get up because I work nights. I wake up in the evening, eat dinner, and go to work. It's like, I'm not asking anything big, and it is very much appreciated. But would you please, you know? And it's like, and yeah, and I to me, it's like you're showing that you care about me. I appreciate that. I feel loved, and I want you to make. I do appreciate it, and I love you. Anyway, this one's gone on for a little while.
That's okay.
And there were.
This is an interesting prompt.
It was, and I think we could probably keep rambling on it for a while.
As Valentine's Day approaches, which you had told me a long time ago was a Hallmark holiday.
No, I said Sweetest Day was a Hallmark holiday. That one's completely made up.
Said it about Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
They took a massacre.
They took. Well, no, the Valentine's Day massacre was something that happened elsewhere. As I recall, Saint Valentine was executed for marrying people after the king banned it.
I thought
anyway.
Okay, we're gonna end with this. If I recall, it was you and this was a long time ago, but basically saying like they took, the massacre of, I don't remember how you put it. Basically, they combined two massacres, turned it into a holiday, and then capitalized it by making greeting cards.
Well,
and then they overcharged for flowers. Yeah, they do. And anyway, it was just a rant.
Supply and demand.
It was a rant that you went on that actually did make some sense.
Sure. It was Sweetest Day in particular. It's like I had not heard of that day until I started dating you. It was the first time in my life I had ever heard that.
And that is a crap holiday. But anyway,
just
as we come up on Valentine's Day, the idea of love, it was very interesting.
Which is, let's see.
And coming up in just a few days.
Yeah, I was just like Friday.
Before we record again.
It's Friday, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's this coming Friday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. So anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
As I look at the bouquet of flowers I got you a few years back.
The fake. Yeah. There's a story behind that.
Yes. There's
Maybe
actually
I'll tell that.
There's a multi-tiered story.
I'll tell that. I'll tell that for the next episode.
Maybe.
Fair enough? Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sure.
Had those a few years.
Yes.
I could even tell you it was Valentine's of February or 2016. February 2016.
Sure.
Year after my mother passed.
Yes.
So.
And my brain did not connect what your brain did, so it was
that's okay. I'll tell the story. It's in my book, so why would I be ashamed to? I'll talk about it. I'll talk about losing my mind. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's all I have for today, sir. Okay.
Well, anyway, love you.
I love you.
Okay. Anyway, so with that, I'm Fix It.
I'm Feel It.
We hope you join us in the future.
Until next week.
Y'all have a great one.